Mad Sports Radio.
What is that which gives me joy? Baseball.
This is the Bronx is Burning podcast.
There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
Mike Damergis along with Mike Torrez and Marc Malusis for episode 3 of the Bronx is Burning podcast. And break out the champagne, Mark and Mike. The Yankees are in the playoffs. Voila.
Hey, congrats there, Yankees. They've so far had a pretty good season. They're playing really well right now.
Yeah, they're playing great. I mean, they're where we all thought they were going to be. The Yankees thought they were going to be coming off the disappointing 82-80 season a year ago, and taking care of business against Seattle, and Glaber's getting heated up, and Wells has done a nice job, and obviously we know the consistency of Judge and Soto. So there's a lot to be hopeful about with this Yankee team with the way that they're playing at this stage of the season.
The Yankees, of course, are battling Cleveland for the best record in the American League, fighting for home field advantage. But you look at the Yankees at home this year; they're better on the road almost. Mike, talk about the mentality of going on the road as opposed to playing at home.
Well, there's probably not as much, especially in New York, pressure that once you get on the road, you relax a little bit better, even though you're facing the opposing team and the crowd. But I always felt that, being away, especially when I played with the Yankees, it was more relaxing for us to be on the road than it would be at home for some reason, because, in New York, the fans really get into it. And, it's a lot of thinking going on as to, if we don't win today, what's going to happen? We're going to get chastised and all that stuff here in New York. But on the road, I think the players relax a little bit better. It seems like they're winning the games, the close games right now, like they have in Seattle last night, the 2-1 ball game. And that's just being, playing good, trying to stay within it and winning that damn game. And that's what they've been doing lately.
Mark, how pivotal do you think home field advantage for the Yankees?
Yeah, I think it matters. I mean, I think it mattered a little bit more at the old ballpark than it does at the new one. I mean, it's interesting, Mike, what he has to say, obviously, the experience as a player, I'm especially when you look at now where I think if you compare them to the late 90s teams, success was expected. I think right now, as we saw during the regular season at times, Yankee fans, because of the fact that this team has not been successful in October, they haven't been to the World Series since 2009. Sometimes Yankee fans can get a little gloom and doom. So I thought it was interesting. From Mike's perspective, if it's going well, it's great to be home. If it's not going well, it's obviously hard to be at home because of the fans, and they can get on you and stuff like that. So, but I'm more of a purist at heart, where I do think home field does play. I don't know if it necessarily plays as much as it did years ago, but I think you work this hard. You want to have the best record, and you want to have home field advantage. And obviously, you want to win the division, and they're well on their way doing that.
Mike, in 1977, the Yankees in Kansas City split the first 2 games at the stadium. Then you had to go on the road for 3 games. In Game 5, you had to come in and pitch 5+ innings. Talk about the mentality, the warrior mentality you need to have in the postseason to make a difference from the regular season.
Well, I mean, that was crazy. In the 5th game, we had whoever won that game was going to get into the 77 World Series. Billy Martin, I got to the stadium. Billy Martin calls me in. He said, "Mike, how do you feel?" Because I had started the 3rd game or 2nd game in New York. And I came in and I said, "Billy, I feel fine." He said, "Well, look, go on to the bullpen because I may need you because we got to win this game today. We don't, we're going home." And I said, "I understand." I said, "I'll be out there." And I ran out there, and game started. Guidry started the game, and he gave up 4 runs early in the first couple innings. And he went out and talked to Guidry. He came back in, and he got me up. And then, like I told everybody, I only threw like 5 pitches warming up in the bullpen. And then Billy comes back out, calls me into the game. Cloyd Boyer was our bullpen coach at the time. He said, "Mike, you're in there." I said, "You're kidding." He said, "Billy's coming back out there." I said, "Oh my God." So anyway, I threw 5 pitches in the bullpen. And like I said, I ran as fast as I could to the mound. I knew I had 8 or 9 pitches to warm up before I faced that first hitter. I was lucky enough to get out of that inning. They didn't score any runs. I held them. We picked away. We ended up winning that game 6-4. So I didn't have the mentality about being scared, or I didn't even think anything about it. But in Kansas City, that's close to my hometown in Topeka, Kansas. So I had a lot of fans and family and people that I went to school with in that area. So, I mean, I didn't something about it. I just didn't think about it. I just knew I had a job to do.
Mark, probably this Yankee starting rotation, the best they've had in probably since 2017, 2018, going into the postseason. You agree with that?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. I love the stories when Mike reminisces talking about the '70s and all that. I mean, it's just awesome. As a longtime Yankee fan that I am, yeah, I think I think you get concerned a little bit about Cole in a big time spot, and he faced a vast amount of criticism after how he handled Rafael Devers this past weekend. Heal's been fantastic this year with the 14 wins. Cortez and Stroman. Yeah. I think the starters are really good now. Are they going to be good in a big time spot? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And I give the Yankees credit for pivoting with the Clay Holmes scenario and Luke Weaver stepping up and serving that role as closer. And the Yankee bullpen has been a little bit better. But yeah, I'd agree with you, Mike. It's not near at the top end when they had Sabathia and Burnett in '09 to where it is right now, because I still think there's unproven commodities. I don't trust Stroman in a big time spot. Cole, I do to an extent. Rodon, I don't necessarily. So they're pitching well right now. That's the most important thing. And I also don't think there's a dominant team that the Yankees have to be fearful of going up against the American League.
Mike, of course, we're talking about Devers and getting walked by Cole there. Back in your day, would Guidry have walked somebody? Would you have walked somebody at that time intentionally with nobody on base and giving somebody a free pass like that? Was that something that would have been done? Would Billy Martin, the great Billy Martin, would he ever have conceded a man at first base?
No, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe he did that. That was weird. That to me, that was a weird situation. I don't know what was in Cole's mind. After he hit him the first at bat, he comes back the second time, I believe, and he says, "Oh, I don't want to pitch to him this time," because I think, like I said, Dave was probably really concentrated and he wanted a little revenge, and I think Cole didn't want to face that particular situation, and they said, "Oh, hell, let me just walk him and hopefully I can get a ground ball, get out of the inning." Me, I would never have done that. I would have hit him first.
Yeah, well, Mike, and that's the thing that bothered me is like, where's the challenge? I understand Devers has really good numbers against Garrett Cole, but as a competitor, don't you want to step up in that scenario and see if you can, get one over on Rafael Devers? Can you, the challenge, the compete level? Where was that from Garrett Cole over the weekend?
Yeah, that was surprising, Mark. I said, Lee, I can't believe he did that, but. Hey, the game has changed today. I don't know. A lot of these young pitchers, I guess, don't want to face, reality. I guess he thought maybe if he gave up a home run, and he's kind of been off and on too. That kind of worries me with Cole right now. He pitched a good game. He pitches a not so good game. He hasn't been consistent. So if hopefully he gets consistent coming into the playoffs, and it seems like some of the teams are hitting him hard. Harder than what they had in the prior years. So that kind of concerns me. I don't know whether it doesn't look like his fastball is popping like it used to.
Mike, back in '77, Ron Guidry wasn't the Ron Guidry we knew in '78 when he won 25 games and had that incredible career. You had Ed Figueroa on pitching. You had Catfish was injured. You on the mound. Sparky Lyle coming out of the pen. Dick Tidgero. All tough mentality. Does this Yankee staff have that mentality? I don't see it in the Carlos Rodon, and I don't know if I see it in a Stroman as well for the postseason.
Well, Stroman talks pretty good. That he blah blah blah, and he's a rah rah type guy, but you still got to back up what you say. It's hard for me to say that. I'm not in the clubhouse, and a lot of times as a player, you can see the real person in the person of what they say and how they react. And that's all I see right now. The only time I can see is, of course, on TV and their mannerisms. And sometimes you kind of go like, I wonder what his thoughts are, you know? So, oh, it's crazy. Anyway.
Mike, let's talk about the 78 team that you're on, the Red Sox. I don't want to bring up bad tidings, but you guys did have a 14-game lead on the Yankees. Compare that locker room to what the Yankee locker room mentality was when you played with the Yankees. Was there a difference? Did you see a difference? Because man for man, the Red Sox were just as good as the Yankees for sure.
Oh yeah, in '78, definitely. No, the clubhouse were exactly the same. When I was with the Yankees, we kind of hated the Red Sox. When I was with the Red Sox, we hated the Yankees. So it was guys that grew up through the organization that they learned that through the older guys that we hate the Yankees and the Yankees hate the Red Sox. But it was real competitive between the two teams. Those two teams in '78, the Yankees and the Red Sox, really, like you said, had the best two teams in Major League Baseball. Unfortunately, we only got to play that one-game playoff, which they beat us. And it's one of probably the best games that were ever played in playoffs. And everybody, as you can remember, Goose Gosh is saying he was shaking in his knees, and Nettles was saying, "Oh, I don't want to, don't hit it to me." He ended up catching the ball, but it was that kind of feeling that you got as a player back then.
I don't know if you remember, Mike, but when Goose was getting the last couple outs there with Yaz up there, Munson was just giving the hand signal, just bring me the heat. Wasn't even sending down the fingers of what pitch to pitch, just letting everybody know in the stadium and on TV that the heat was coming.
Yeah, well, that was Goose. Goose would challenge you. He went right after you, and that was his the way he pitched, and that's how he liked pitching. And he challenged everybody. He went after everybody. It wasn't not him. I'm sure he was thinking, "Damn, I hope Yaz doesn't hit one out on us." Of course, I was hoping he would, but that's the craziness of it.
Mark, concerns, there's clamor going on as far as whether Volpe should get every start in the postseason. Do you think there's a chance that we might see a change at shortstop?
I think that'd be drastic. I mean, I wouldn't say anything's out of the ordinary. Listen, Volpe has really cooled off a little bit. I think what we've learned here, it takes a lot for the Yankees to kind of move. They gave him a day off up in Seattle. I get it. He's been struggling a little bit. But the idea then of taking him out of that shortstop position, even with everything that's on the line, I think we're not there yet. Could we potentially get there? For sure. But I think the Yankees, with their glacial decision making that we've seen, they're not going to be overreactionary. I don't think we're necessarily going to see that. No.
Mike, last one for you here. We've seen the impetus that Jazz Chisholm has brought to the Yankees, the excitement. Reminds me a little bit of Mickey Rivers. Those that don't remember, Mickey Rivers was the Yankees leadoff hitter from 76, 77, 78, and into 79. Talk about what Mickey gave to that lineup, that spark plug to that Yankee lineup in 77.
Oh, Mickey was great. It was unbelievable. Yeah, he was our go-to guy. If you get on base, he made things happen. He made it better because Thurman, to me, and Lou Piniella were our two best contact hitters coming up. If he would get on base, and these guys were fabulous, could put the ball in play. Thurman could hit the ball anywhere in the field. Same with Lou Piniella. Those were our two best RBI guys on our team that year. And with Mickey getting on base, it made a lot of things happen for us. And Mickey could run. He could run as fast as anybody in baseball. And you couldn't really tell it, but he loped a little bit. But I tell you what, when he got going, he was quick, and he was still quick when he was up in the 70s.
Moose, you think Jazz is probably one of the best moves that Cashman's made midseason in his tenure in 25 years?
Yeah, I think it's a perfect case in point where you take a guy in a losing situation that's got really good baseball athletic ability, and it provides something that the Yankees didn't have. I mean, they didn't have that. And I think you learned about his compete level. We were talking about the compete level with Garrett Cole when he walked Rafael Devers. Well, Jazz Chisholm said, "Yeah, I'll go play third. I've never played it, but I'll learn on the fly." And you've had to deal with some issues there at times, but you love the fact that he's willing to take on the challenge because the Yankees are trying to win. I mean, that's the goal, is to win. So the Yankees didn't have a player of his kind of ability that can change the course of a game in a lot of different ways. And that was probably one of the better moves. You knew he was talented down in Florida with the Marlins, but and you thought that he'd come here and be able to blossom, and he has.
Mark, I agree with you. He reminds me so much of Mickey Rivers, the mannerisms, how he acts, and that's the way Mickey was. He brought a lot of energy to the team, and I'm sure Chisholm is doing the same thing.
No doubt.
I'll leave it on this note. I have an autograph of Mickey Rivers on a cocktail napkin from Marty and Lenny's nightclub in New Rochelle. I know Mickey used to frequent Yonkers Raceway as well. So we'll leave it at that. Episode 3 of the Bronx is Burning podcast. Follow us on Twitter and YouTube.